I'm starting the episode, Joey Palmer. How are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Ranch Podcast with your favorite host, where we talk all things Idaho with the top dad hat wearing man himself, the man who comes from the state that shall not be named. That phrase is used so many times it's become cliche, but we love him all the same. He is a treasure to our valley. Ladies and gentlemen, a smattering of applause for Matt Thomas.
A smattering. God bless you, Joey Palmer. Slow clap. How are you, sir?
I'm really good.
Good. Thank you for coming. Here's to you.
Cheers.
Listen, for the people that don't know, you are the incredible, world-renowned Napoleon Dynamite imitator. You also happen to be the VP, associate assistant superintendent for Vallivue. Mm-hmm. If anybody hasn't seen it, your Napoleon Dynamite, we're going back to school. I literally texted, not just you, but I texted like 4 people. I'm like, I can't believe Vallivue got this actor to do a back to school for Vallivue. Like, this is the wild, because he actually, he lives in the area. Like he's got an Instagram where he like does these ridiculous, like when you make $25 off of a movie that like made a gajillion, but you were like 18 years old when you did it. And he's like, dang it. I've always like, and then when I found out that you were the one who actually did it, I was blown away. Like you,
well, I mean,
hat off to you, sir. It's fantastic.
Next, that was a fun father-son project. Basically, you know, my son was out of school. We wanted something to do. I thought this would be cool. And I was Napoleon for Halloween a few years ago, and I still had it in my closet. I was like, let's go for it, bud. And you know, it's funny, 20 years ago, I just started substitute teaching to see if I wanted to be in education. And every time I was a sub, all the kids, because that's when the movie came out, all the kids would be like, you're Mr. Napoleon. No, I'm Mr. Palmer. Respect.
Respect.
No, you're Mr. Napoleon. I hated it. And now I just own it. And people, you know, I want it in my mind. I'm like, I'm a cool dude. But they're like, no, you're Napoleon Dynamite. So, now I own it, and it's appreciated even 20 years later. So, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
The best costume with a notable character that I ever pulled off was Balthazar Brat from Despicable Me 3.
Oh, okay.
I won't show you a picture of it, but
it was
like 2021 or something.
Yeah.
And we had just seen all the Despicable Me movies in like September.
Yeah.
And I know we were like late to the punch. And dude, I found this costume, and I got out my Guitar Hero guitar because he has this guitar, and I also got he's always playing like 80s music. Are you familiar with the character? Like,
I'm struggling.
He's a super villain in cartoon, right? Despicable Me is a cartoon, so he's a super villain, but he was this childhood star that was like, this bad boy childhood star in the 80s, but then he got acne and like once you're a kid, you like turn to a teenager, you lose the role. So he's living the whole story of this character is that he's living in the 80s and like trying to relive his childhood dreams.
Great concept.
Yeah. And he has he's this super villain that wears like shoulder pads, and he's got this like ridiculous clunky robot.
Wait,
called
does he
Clive.
have a mullet too?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, he's got a mullet, and he's got the guitars like dun, dun, dun.
Yes, that's
right?
great.
Yeah, so I had 80s music playing on a speaker, and I had the garage.
Man, you went all out. The music and everything?
Yeah.
What are you going to be this
awesome.
Halloween?
That's a great question. Probably the loser 43-year-old I am. I don't know.
Ooh, 1981, huh?
Yeah.
I'm turning 44 in a month here. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's to us being those dudes. Yeah. Listen, I called you in the middle of an episode with Amber Ford from the Vallivue Educators Association because she mentioned that Vallivue is taking this really awesome, at least in my mind, an awesome stand with saying like, look, man, technology has rolled out really fast, and this is, not everything that comes with technology is great. A lot of things are, but not everything is. And if the mission of education is to educate children, right? Public education, it's like, let's educate them. Is 100% immersion in technology in line with that? Is there a place for, not having that? I started my career as a tutor. I remember I was 22 years old, and I met this old cranky history teacher at this private school I was tutoring at. And I was at back to school night one night, and the guy was telling all these parents, I thought he was like this lazy dude. He's like, a lot of my assignments, they just start with paper and pencil. And I think there's value in that. And again, this is like mid 2000s. So tech was really, everybody had a little, laptops essentially, and that's when they had the mini MacBooks, right? Everybody loved the mini MacBooks. They were like made of metal, the whole thing. And I have grown to appreciate that perspective more and more. It's like, listen, it's blank. There's no cursor blinking. There's no app to touch. It's a piece of paper and a pencil. Talk to me about what Vallivue is doing with technology.
Oh, there's so many thoughts that came. Actually, I wanted to riff off of what you just said, but I'll answer the question.
No.
Okay.
Riff.
Yeah,
That's fine. We got time.
There's a podcast called How I Write, and it's just that really interviewing all sorts of people about how they write. And an interview that I found fascinating was with CEO of OpenAI, ChatGPT, Sam Altman. And his conversation on that was, when I write, I use a piece of paper. It's got to be a notebook that can at least fit in my pocket. I don't use digital tools to write. There's something, how does he say it? Whenever I write down to see if I understand something, I go to paper and pencil. Then there's nowhere to hide. Do I really understand something or not? There's something about having the integrity of just one sheet of paper to show all the spots where you're dialed in, all the spots where you're like, no, I got to figure this out. And then he even says, I have to pull out my paper, put it on a desk, look at all my thoughts, see if I can, connect dots and things of that nature. And then the host asked him, so why do you find writing valuable? And he says, because it's the most important tool for thinking, for understanding, for processing. And then it blew my mind when he said, if AI could do as good as paper and pencil writing, I'd switch to that. But I have not found that to be the case.
Yeah.
So that kind of, yeah.
I have a lot of, my original podcast that I started years ago was really just, it was like 5 little thought bubbles a week, right? 10-minute episode. And it would be something ridiculous. Like I had this running list, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas. And they were little just ideas that I wanted to explore. I really enjoyed like talking through these little blips, these concepts. I did hundreds of the episodes. And for my teenagers, the students, the SAT students I was working with, they would listen to them on the way to school. And they're like, oh, I never thought. And I always had to write them down. And it was like this idea would come into my head. And I think it was like Maya Angelou, the poet, was talking about catching ideas for poetry. And I'm 99% sure it was her, but the point was she would be somewhere and an idea would come into her head and she would like say she was out in the garden. She'd drop and like run to the house to grab a piece of paper and start writing down this idea because it was like a train moving through her head. She was like, look, as long as some piece of the train was in your head, you could pull the rest of it back. So as it's going through, like even if she grabbed the caboose and she could like pull the rest of it back into her mind, she'd write something down and she'd be able to reference that again later. Because that would bring she's like, but if the caboose left, if that idea was gone, it was never coming back.
Right.
And I got in the habit of grabbing things and scribbling down ideas. So now in my mind, the problem with grabbing my phone to write down ideas or grabbing a computer to write things down is there's so much risk involved in that because I'm trying to grab the caboose of this train running through my head. And dude, the second I look at my phone, 27 different notifications, 27 different taxi cabs and airplanes and submarines start going into my brain. It's like the caboose is gone.
So you're talking about notifications, text messages,
anything,
or the attraction to look at another app whenever you're like, no, I got to get this
idea. You might be reminded like, oh, I see the email icon. I'm like, oh, I need to email Joey. Right. Whatever the distraction is, I need just a piece of paper. Like I think I have it right over here. Actually, I take around. Where is it? Here it is. So this is a field guide. All right. So I carry this around in my back pocket, right? And this field guide is just here with a pencil in it, and I grab out of my back pocket and then just scribble down ideas.
Right.
This actually allows me, speaking of tech, because you got to lead as a parent. When I go home at night from 5 to 8, I don't have my phone. Right. I put the best thing is to leave the phone in the garage, not even have it on the counter where the charger is or in the office. The phone is gone. It's not physically in the house anymore.
Perfect.
And I put this in my pocket and I know that if like, hey, a caboose comes or a train comes into my head, just write it down. Write it down real fast, no distraction, no action item. And then at 8 o'clock, I have a to-do list and I grab my phone real fast, rip through the to-do list, but you have this 5 to 8 o'clock at night time where I'm not worried that I'm going to forget things. I'm not like, oh, I got to do it right now or I'm not going to remember. No. It's written down. There's no additional distraction. Nobody's ever gotten mad at me for scribbling a quick note. And I can be with my kids and be back with myself away from the tech that all the tech wants is my attention.
Yeah, you're fully present. I love that deliberate practice and the boundaries you set up. I'm starting to see that trend actually more often. I know, let's just say even 10 years ago, whenever I'd go into a meeting, everyone had to bust out their iPad. Everyone had to bust out some kind of technology.
The laptop, you get it all set up and you're in a meeting, you're ready to go. But then everybody has these glowing screens and all the screen wants is screen time.
And I'm starting to see that dip actually. Like I'll be in a construction meeting. You know, we just got done opening up 2 brand new elementary schools. We're always meeting with construction people. Whenever we'd have a meeting, there's anywhere from 10 to 12 people. 10 years ago, everyone would have had their device. Now it's minimal. Most people have pen and paper. Sometimes whenever they open up a big portfolio, I'm like, I bet there's a tablet hiding in there somewhere. Nope, not at all. It's all paper. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Personally, I love it. So
this brings us back to what Valley View is doing.
Okay.
Talk to me about, no.
Yeah.
But I think this brings us all the way back, which is there was a push in education and the business world towards like have everyone plugged in because this is where the magic happens. This is the value. These are the tools. Yeah. And now you see just me, just what you talked about. It's like, no. Adults, professionals are going back to like, I can't have that in front of me. Like it's going to distract. It's not useful. What I need is this, right? If I have a task, be it, hearing what somebody's saying, being deeply focused on and attentive or, just not being distracted, I don't need the tech. In fact, the tech is the opposite of what I need. Talk to me about what Valley View is doing.
Sure. I think there was a lot of things happening at one time that kind of led us to this initiative to go 1 day per week. Students are not on Chromebooks and then scaling that up to 2 days a week for the second semester. So
and is that high schools? Is that middle schools? Is that elementary schools? What is that?
District-wide.
Gotcha.
So across all 15 schools. So like, which one should we start with? Let's start with cell phones. Last year, I'm very proud to say that Valley View was one of the full districts to say, we are going to ban cell phones as soon as the first bell rings to the very end of the day when the last bell rings, no cell phones whatsoever. And so we wanted to do some walkthroughs on each campus and see how it's looking. And it was great. There was a significant lack of distraction. I could go on and on and on about all the gains that we've seen by managing that, I'm going to say, debacle with cell phones. Yeah. And I'm glad that's been taken care of for the most part. But then when we're walking through classrooms, we're still seeing some kids distracted, but this time with school issued devices. So whenever we would walk them through a classroom before the cell phone ban, let's say 30 kids are in there, there'd be 1 to 2 kids that were using their cell phones inappropriately. And they would have no idea what the teacher was doing, even though the teacher's got this great lesson plan, and teaching her heart out. It's completely lost on the student, right? Sure. And now we're seeing the same thing. You walk into each classroom of 30 kids, you can see anywhere from 1 to 5 students using school-issued devices on a website that has nothing to do with the intention of the teacher's lesson plan, which is leading us to the question, how do we make sure that everyone understands that instructional hours are sacred? And I mean that to the full extent of the word. We only get you so much time. We want to make sure that you are the best you can be for the future by making sure we're maximizing instructional hours. So that gave us a little pulse check, a temperature check that maybe we need to do a little bit of reflection on how we can make sure that we're not going too much screen time or too little screen time. So that's what this whole conversation is about district-wide amongst all of my colleagues. Everyone's got a different idea. Some people are saying 1 day, no Chromebook is asking too much. It's an imposition. Other people are saying, this is great. In fact, I'm going to sign myself up. Yeah, I'll do 1 day's no Chromebooks in my room, but I'm going to go all out and I'm going to say 3, 4, 5 no Chromebooks in my classroom. I found this to be an actually interesting conversation because it's almost like talking politics or religion. Everyone has a different idea and everyone has very strong opinions about it. So it's very, it's a sensitive topic. So we're taking this entire school year to just have it come together with intentionality intentionality and say, we're all going to get into this together, be accountable to each other, and we're going to be hyper aware of how much screen time we're using in the district, have conversations and see what we want to do ultimately in the 26-27 school year moving on. So that's the cell phone thing that kind of led into this. Another thing that led into it too is COVID. As you know, Valley Views, there's nothing unique about our situation. When we had to go a little bit off campus for education, we thought, okay, we need to get one-to-one devices for our students so we can deliver instruction no matter what happens. If there's a sociological upheaval, an environment disaster, a global pandemic, whatever, we got to make sure that we still have some kind of contact with the students. So we invested heavily in technology. Then when we come back, that momentum of investing heavily in technology continues by getting licenses to software, making sure we've got access to websites that are educational. And so maybe this unstated implication to all of our educators in the classroom was, we're providing you with this tech, we're giving you access to all this software, therefore use it as much as you can. And maybe we're thinking we weren't deliberate enough in our communications. And so we're also trying to say, let's scale back on the screen time. We've invested in 12 years in Avid, which is all about the best curated instructional strategies for writing, inquiry, collaboration, organizing, and reading. Let's see if we can get back to that. Make sure we're using ed tech as a tool, not just constant presence glowing in the faces of our students.
Man, thank you for all of that.
Sure.
There's a lot here. I'm not anti-tech, to be really, really clear. Like my kids, I'm actually going to be tapping into my kids to have them help me do editing, because I really enjoy.
For your podcast or another project?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Podcast. And like so every Christmas we do like a Lego thing, right? It could be like a centerpiece. It could be like an elf house, whatever. It's like our thing, right?
That's
it's
a cool
like,
family activity. It's almost like a family puzzle.
Yes. And they're huge, right? So it's like, it's not like the little, it's like the big, we go all out. We buy the expensive ones. And again, it's holiday. My wife's actually a gangster. She buys them after Christmas for the next year. So she gets the discount.
She's smart.
She's a smart lady.
Because Legos are expensive.
Yeah, they are. I actually have a great idea for an app. I'll tell you later. Okay. But anyway, so we do those. In this last year, I was like, we got the elf waffle house. Okay. So it's like, there's a elf waffle maker thing. And like the waffles are like that big, right? But it's all about these elves that love waffles and like hot chocolate in this little like elf, snow covered house. And so I was like, we should do a funny elf, like stop motion movie. Right. And so we go to the Chatty G and we're like, hey, write me a script, like a small storyline for elves. And like, they love waffles. And like, this is the problem. One's really lazy. One really likes waffles. One's always fighting with the other one because they have to get up. And it writes this whole thing. And so then my kids they do the voices and we do stop motion with the different waffles. Yeah. It was like super fun. And the whole time I'm teaching my boys how to edit videos, how to make this stuff. I'm like, okay, this is the video, this wave thing, that's the audio. You can see where we stop talking right here. This is how you cut going through it. I'm not anti-tech, but I also don't think it's really valuable to, like, you're not going to develop a whole person if you have tech availability all the time. Because again, the stated goal of tech is more tech, right? If you give somebody a hammer, the hammer doesn't care. The hammer's not trying to entice them to drive more nails. The hammer's like, that's a tool. And if you need to drive a nail, there's the hammer, man. Right. And like, yeah, my kid can go grab my hammer and he's like, can I go hit a piece of wood? And that's entertaining for like 30 seconds. And then he's like, eh. So you really have this, utility without a long-term entertainment proposition or an enticing proposition with a hammer. That's a tool. But what technology predominantly has become is a distraction, an entertainment mechanism. And, again, it's not that it can't be used as a tool, but it also has these other parallel problems that run along with it within the education sphere.
Yeah, that's a big concern of mine as well. Like, we just got done saying that we're from the same generation, right? The distractions with the technology that we had was paper and pencil. So a teacher could be like, Matt, Todd, listen up. I have a question for you. Tell me, talk to me about the transition between a zygote going into an embryo. And you'd be like, I'm just trying to write a love letter to Andrea, pay attention. Or for me, it'd be like
beautiful. Or you're drawing a picture of Andrew, like, I spent an hour on your upper lip.
Yeah, exactly. Or speaking of shading, Joey, did the Adams administration handle the XYZ affair appropriately? I'm just trying to shade in my Stussy symbol.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
But
I remember that. You drew the six lines, three. Yeah. And then you're like, yeah.
Well, you compare that to this generation now, instead of paper and pencil to be distracted with, it's a Chromebook, and kids will always find a way through the content filter to access video games or videos to watch that have nothing to do with the teacher's intention for their lesson plan. And so the siren call of any tech that's in front of a student is going to be 10 times what we experienced. So how can we be deliberate about scaling back on screen time to make sure that we're mitigating that as well?
Did you take calculus in high school? Or like
I'm not that smart.
Okay. Well,
that's a lot of numbers and curvy lines.
I'm sure. You had a TI-84. We used to have.
Yeah, I did have
I remember Independence Day, the Will Smith movie came out, and somebody made the Independence Day video game for the TI-84. Now, mind you, the pixels are like that big, right? It's ridiculous. Like, we would get that game, and the only possibility we had of entertaining ourselves with the tech we had in like calculus or pre-calculus was like playing Independence Day on the TI-84. It was like the dumbest thing ever. But it wasn't enticing. Chris McKenna actually came for he's a big tech safety advocate. He came for a tech safety day in West Ada. And he had this great point that I'd never heard somebody put it this way. They're like, listen, I want you to think about this. You get a backpack. Backpack's empty. Do you care about the backpack? No. Mom tells you to leave the backpack home. Mom tells you to take the backpack to school. Doesn't matter to you because the backpack's empty. Right. Now, I want you to take all of the coolest things you've ever had in your room. Take every single CD that you have in your room. Take your like Legos. Take pictures of your friends. Take all these things. Take your porny magazines, which I did not have, unfortunately, but I know people did. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'm not like worse off for not having, magazines, whatever. But take all of these things, as crass as that may sound, take all of these things, put them in the backpack.
Right.
And now, when your mom is like, leave your CDs, your Legos, pictures of your friends, and the nudie magazines, leave them all at home. You're like, no. Mm-hmm. This is the most engaging, entertaining, personalized, private thing that I have in existence. Mm-hmm. This backpack's going everywhere with me. That's the problem with tech. And I'm not just saying cell phones. That's the problem with technology. Right. You have something that's internet connected. You have something that, I think every school district that I've spoken with acknowledges that students can blow past the monitoring systems like that. Yeah. That's the draw to these things. And if you think that's not going to be a distraction, if you think that's not going to be, at least thinking about it. You have kids, yeah? Mm-hmm. You ever go somewhere without your cell phone to like a baseball game?
Ooh, that's pretty rare, but sure.
Okay.
I'll follow you on this hypothetical.
There's a beautiful TED Talk from like 2008 called The Paradox of Choice. And the articulation of this I think he was a professor, was like, look, in reality, the more choices you have, the less happy you are. Right. Yeah. And one of the things that he brought up is like, if you go to a Little League baseball game and you have your phone in your pocket, you can make the decision to not take that phone out of your pocket, but you are making a decision, and that will be a distinctly different experience for you, counter to you don't have the phone in your pocket. You don't even have to think about it. Right. That's the decision that we're asking teenagers to make when we give them internet connected technology. And they know how to get past all the guardrails, and they're like, do I decide to go on to do X, Y, or Z, or do I not? And that in itself is a distraction. That's a draw.
Yeah, that decision making takes a lot of brain power and draws it away from being able to focus on what the teacher's trying to get done in the classroom, for sure. Another thing I'm thinking about too is in the classroom, let's say, so we have this program called Hapara, and basically, have you heard of Hapara?
No.
So we've got our, content management filter, keep our kids safe. But then the next layer of protection is a teacher in the classroom can say, all my students right now can only access these websites. And that's what Hapara allows you to do. So it locks everything down, right? So we're insistent that every teacher has to use that anytime they use technology. It's a non-negotiable. But even then, let's say the email is allowed in the classroom, a Google Doc is allowed in the classroom, and then whatever website to research is allowed.
How about PowerPoint? Go into PowerPoint, go into insert URL, put the URL you want to go into, and PowerPoint will open it up outside of the browser.
Gosh dang it, I didn't know that.
Yeah, gotcha.
But this is to your point, though. and my point actually, that is still compromising the attention of a student. It's fragmenting their attention. I'm going to email my buddy here, or or I'm going to, and then I'm going to do my homework, and then I'm going to pay attention, or I'm going to do the little trick that you just said through the PowerPoint.
How about
link.
this one? Buy another Chromebook that looks exactly like the school administered Chromebook.
Oh,
That's another hack I found out this week.
Gosh dang it.
Yeah. So then and the teacher's not looking that closely.
Right.
They'll, like, if you got a little barcode it's taped on, they'll make a fake barcode. But so now you have a completely unlocked Chromebook that you have access to the entire school day.
Right. And then all they have to do is use their cell phone and break, policy and use it as a hotspot.
Yeah, you're not going to stop the hotspot.
Right. Yeah.
Hotspot.
Yeah.
Come on.
So we try to do the levels, like I said, the content management filter,
Yeah.
Hapara. But even if that's not working, that's where we need parents to be engaged too.
Yeah.
And log into your kid's Chromebook account, look at their history, and see if everything looks legit. And if that doesn't look legit, or for some reason it keeps getting, browser history deleted, then you could always reach out to any district that your child's in and say, hey, can I get a log on all my kids' history, so that way I can have conversations with my kiddo at home.
Valley View supplies the browser history of any computer.
Yeah, it needs to be requested, so it's not something we just do off the bat.
Sure.
But yeah, that's like the bottom rung of levels of support of how we can work together to make sure that kids are honoring their class time.
Dude, is there a way to automate supplying the browser history without a request? That would be, if I'm 17, I'm horrified. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
My mom and my dad automatically, like, they check Power School and they're just going to browse my browser history.
Yeah, I know it's possible because some school districts do it. I think what makes it tough, though, is it's so comprehensive. It'll show you everything, which is okay. But then if you don't know how to interpret those reports, then you'll assume the worst. So let's say at school, a kiddo searches a completely innocuous term.
Sure.
If anything's damaging in that term in the search results, it's automatically going to get blocked.
Sure.
But if a parent looks at the report and goes, oh, my kid looked this up, I'm going to look it up and see what it is. They're not on our filtering system, and they're going to see some fine things and horrifying things, and then hopefully not, but they might say, my assumption is that they're accessing these terrible things.
But in reality, you guys had blocked out a bunch of the bad things. So it's like, no, the 50% that was okay,
right,
that's fine. But then the stuff that was bad that you got unfiltered, that didn't pop up on the screen.
Right. And then we'll get
inundated
with phone calls with the worst assumptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why we have levels to it. The content filter right away, Hapara right away, great classroom management and engaging lessons. Students also have to buy in and be present and actually put effort into it, so that way they're not distracting. And then if that doesn't work, student or parents, look at the history. Parents, if anything looks fishy there, reach out to your principal in any district, not just Valley View.
And I think it should really be stated as well. You could eliminate all technology right now today. Mm-hmm. You will still have some students that are not bought in, right? So the concept of like, hey, look, students have to participate. It's like, how are you going to get the 17-year-old to participate, bro? Yeah, look, this has always been the classic problem with education. How do you, it's like, what was that Stand and Deliver? How do I reach these kids?
Yeah.
What's his name? But it was great film, and that was the whole point. Here was this teacher who understood how to engage people and draw out the best of them in, LA Unified back in the day, right? Like, you're going to have people that don't buy in no matter what is there. So the idea of eliminating technology, and it's like everybody would have a 4.0, it's like, that's not reality.
Yeah. I mean, I lived that reality. No technology in my classroom when I was going through high school.
Yeah.
I could care less about what the teacher wanted to teach me. I had other agendas going on in my mind. First of all, I think we talked about our family dynamics last time. That was a factor. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah.
Other things was like,
Amanda, the love name.
Yeah, Amanda. Meanwhile,
you're so beautiful.
I graduated in 2000, and there was a book that came out, and it was called Are We Living in the End Times? And I read that as a high schooler, and I was sold on it. I was like, we are living in the end times. 1990s coming along, 2000. I bet God's coming back, and why would I care about my high school diploma?
Oh my gosh,
if the world's
that's wild.
You know what I mean?
You're like, it's the rapture, bro. I don't care about chem.
Right, exactly. And
wow.
Thank goodness I did still, power through, and I got my diploma. And then I wasn't going to go to college. I could care less about college. But my mom was like, I know I didn't care about your education at all during high school, but I'm not going to pay your car insurance unless you go to college. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to college.
All it takes is car insurance.
So to your point, like,
where did you go to college?
So I went to a million different community colleges the first 2 years, Fresno City College, De Anza and Cupertino. And then ultimately was going to go to Long Beach State University, but then couldn't get in there because they had too many people, not enough professors. So they said, you could go 8 miles north from Long Beach and go to Dominguez Hills, but it's 2 miles west of Compton. I was like, heck yeah, this is going to be awesome. I loved it.
Because USC chicks are over there too.
I loved it though, because like most of my fellow classmates were, a person of color or African American.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading literature, and instead of reading all the, the canon of the dead white guys, I was getting to read all sorts of people of color authors, and the perspectives that I was reading and the perspectives of my fellow students when we were interpreting those readings blew my mind. I think everyone should experience what it feels like to be in a minority and to hear other people. And so Cal State University, Dominguez Hills gave me that opportunity. It was awesome.
Did you, this is really dark. Did you read 12 Years a Slave?
I have a hard time reading slavery literature because it's, like you said, it's so dark. I just read James with my son, which is, do you know James?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Yeah, basically it's the hypothetical story of Huckleberry Finn told from James's perspective, the slave in Huckleberry Finn. Yeah. My son and I, we were just like, oh,
dude, so dark.
We're going to have to take a while to process this.
Yeah.
So some of that, I'm kind of a weenie. I can't hang with really heavy stuff like that sometimes.
So I read 12 Years a Slave, and I
don't know how you did it. I won't watch the movie either. Did you watch the movie?
I did see the film. It did not do the book justice.
Really?
Yeah, no, the book is profound. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, the movie's able to portray certain things a little bit better, but oh my God, I'm gonna cry just telling it.
Yeah.
So eventually the protagonist is a freeman living in the North. He's a black guy, and he gets kidnapped. He gets enticed to DC or something. He's a violinist, capable, great. And he's like, yeah, but I wouldn't mind making it. He would play professionally, music and do other things. And somebody's like, oh, come play for us over here. And goes out, hangs out with these guys. They drug him. And then he wakes up chained to the floor, right? And he doesn't have ID. They're like that. They change his name, whip him until he's collapsed. Oh, I can't go into it. Anyway, the point is,
it makes you sick to your stomach.
It's so hard to read, but I was I really wanted to read it. And you get to the end, and people come and save him, right? He somehow gets out a letter that he wrote on I think it was blackberry juice on some piece of parchment. He makes his own ink because they don't allow him ink or paper or anything. He gets a note away, right? Because there were a lot of transient workers on this farm. He gets a note to people, and then these people come down to save him, right? And it's this big to do because you have to prove you're this person. So they get the sheriff, and they're like, that guy's name isn't Bob. His name is James or whatever. And blah, blah, blah. He tells them all these facts the sheriff knows that this guy would never know. Anyway, he makes it back up north, but he was gone for 12 years, right? So when he left, his son was 3 or 4, and his wife was pregnant. And so he makes it back up north, and he gets reunited with his family, and he asked where his son is, and his son had been working and saved up enough money to go buy his dad out of slavery. And, I was reading this. I had little boys at the time, and I still have young kids, but I was reading this as you hope that your kids are better than you are. And I was reading that, just envisioning what it would be like if I knew that my kids had done that, and just understanding what that must have been. Right. And this, at the conclusion of the book, he's like, listen, man, I'm totally content to live a lowly, simple life, with my family. Obviously, you come through that, you're like, I just want to hug my wife and my kids and have dinner and just sleep in a warm bed. And of course, that's not what happens. This person in real life becomes part of the underground, freedom network and all of these things, and does incredible Incredible Things. It's just, wow, man. Like what a wild book.
Yeah, that's heavy. You're
Life
braver
experience.
than I am.
Oh man, I recommend it. It's a, you know, I don't love reveling or glorifying painful things in American history,
or
but
romanticizing it.
But like these are things that
they're real.
Yeah, they're real.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a real thing. Anyway, back to tech.
Back to tech.
Back to tech. So, bottom line is you have a great appreciation for students that aren't inherently bought into the idea of education. Removing tech is not going to be a cure-all, but you know, starting to walk it back and see what kind of educational efficacy and what kind of result you get. Now, when you talk about one day off, and again, it sounds like it's a district-wide policy, but I presume that's not really a big thing for kindergartners because you don't have kindergartners on tech all day. Like they're like, well, little Scotty down there has been, you know, it's like 8 hours a day on the screen. So like, let's give him Friday off. Like this, you already have like a tiered tech utilization system comparing like high schoolers to elementary kids, right?
Yeah. Actually, not deliberately, but more naturally, I suppose. Like my wife volunteered in our children's elementary classroom. And she noticed from K through 5, K through 2, tech's not used too much. For the most part, it's used for interventions whenever kids are doing stations.
Sure.
Or to get familiar or progress monitoring with the state mandated assessment that you have to do. Funny thing about that, I had one parent tell me that, Joey, my kid reads all the time when he was homeschooled and before he came into the Vallivue School District in elementary school. You know, he was just fine reading. And then he takes a test to see how well he does as reading, and the test didn't go so well for him. And then they're telling me my kid's not a great reader. And I'm the parent saying, no, my kid's a fantastic reader. It wasn't until they got familiar with the platform that he was able to show his stuff and that he was a phenomenal reader. So we have to play that game a little bit with the state mandated tests, and kids have to do some screen time that I'm not thrilled about to be able to accomplish that. And then it starts to scale up a little bit as kids get older. But where I saw a real stark difference for myself is when my son transitioned from the 5th grade and into the 6th grade. All of a sudden, there's much more screen time going on. And then another funny thing, too, we're talking about kids will always find a way to do something that's not appropriate. A kid would send out a link via email to all of his buddies to join in a game and play on a school-issued device together. Put in Palmer, auto-populated Joseph Palmer, me.
Oh, no.
And that happened on 3 separate occasions, thinking he was sending it to his buddy, my son, saying, let's play, hurry, let's go. And so I'd forward it to the principal at the school and say, hey, we need to look into this kind of a thing. So then, that's another reason why we're thinking about going at least one day, let's just kind of refocus and have a conversation. Matt, I'd love to come on here and just be like alpha male leadership, talk with you. Like, I know the right way to do it. I know how much tech to do and not to do. And I've already thought through it because my thoughts are always right. I don't have that at all. I come here with humility saying, this is what I'm seeing. This is what other people are seeing with me. This is our goal to get to. Not everyone agrees and is on the same page, but we're having the conversation and we're trying things out. We're going to mess up along the way as we go, but that's part of the process. And we're going to give ourselves grace and we're going to figure out what we think is the right balance in Vallivue.
Man, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
I wish you came on here and you're like, bro, our kids work so hard. They get done with a complete school day by 9:00. Then they go run 15 miles. They come back. They get a second school day, noon to 1. Mm-hmm. Like, Bubba, it's like by the end of the day, we're done with the semester.
Honestly, you're kind of like talking about, who is it, McKinsey Price, that Alpha One school?
Yeah,
have you heard of that?
It's
kind of the same thing. That'll be interesting to see how that, if they're transparent, what that data and their results actually look like. So
sure. And look, I mean, whatever. I can't get into it. It's too
much.
Like
fair
there's
enough.
too much. There's too much. I do think that there's we need flexibility in the state of Idaho. We need. Oh, here's a question for you. If somebody's really concerned about tech, so like I had not great experiences with my 2nd grader in tech, and my 5th grader when he was in 5th grade, he would tell me, he's like, I put in time, Dad. I was like, you put in time?
What does
you
that
put
mean?
in time with what? He's like, I'm playing the games. I was like, you're playing the games. And he was telling me all about like every day he would go to school, and at some point of the day he'd get in like 15 to 30 minutes to like improve his little character and his game on his school. And he's like, I put in time. I'm getting better. It's like, and he would always be like, hey, I got to use my Chromebook to get my homework done. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing over there? Because like he would go to this game where he's like trying to level up this character, because that's the whole, like the infinite level up. There's no end to it. You're always getting better. And he was so funny about it. So, anyway, but he was bright, but my second grader at the time really was not doing well with the tech integration. So if people are concerned about that within Vallivue, are they able to come to you and say, hey man, look, like for whatever reason, and maybe it's me, it's not you, like the classic breakup, but like for whatever reason, this tech relationship is not working with my son. Is there a way that they can go through education within the Vallivue School District K-12 without having one-to-one Chromebooks?
I suppose theoretically we can make that happen. We haven't had that request yet, but as a district, our ultimate goal is to be able to teach students to have self-control and be able to use tech appropriately, but not always use tech as well. I'm sure if we had to, we could figure out paper copies and take care of that, kiddo.
But it's not even something that's been requested.
No. No. But yeah.
Well, then that probably means you have a better balance within the school district.
Well, I hope so. And I can already tell, even though the initiative is kind of a nuisance to a lot of teachers, and I totally get it because some people say it's too restrictive and not enough flexibility for them as a professional.
You're a music teacher. What are you talking about? Like,
and, but where was I getting with that? I totally lost my train of thought. I apologize.
It's restrictive. It's you guys have this
requirement. Oh, but it's already working, I guess.
Yeah.
What I'm saying. And the reason why I know that only from, this is anecdotal evidence, not hard data or whatever, is my kiddo has a bunch of neighborhood kids up in my bonus room at my house and play Dungeons and Dragons, which I love because it's low tech and they're engaging with each other and stuff. I never played Dungeons and Dragons, but it's cool seeing them interact with each other.
Do they have the mini landscapes where like the guys are going over?
Oh yeah,
like
the
Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
So I'll go up and I'll crash their party and I'll be like, hey guys, I bought you the soda, I bought you the Doritos, I got you the pizza. Just give me like 5 minutes of your time. Let me ask some questions about how tech's going. Last year, whenever I asked them, they're like, oh yeah, there's always another link. We play whatever we like, kind of a thing. They're exaggerating.
Sure.
But
that was a sentiment.
Yeah, that was a sentiment. Well, now this year, they're just like, oh, heck no, it's too risky.
That's great.
Went to a high school where there was a barbecue with some students, and I sat down at a table with 5 other kiddos. Hey, is there a difference between tech in the classroom being used and now? And they're like, oh yeah, we're afraid to do stuff, was the same sentiment. And then another time I was walking my Basset Hounds through the neighborhood, saw a garage and a driveway full of kids shooting hoops. And they were part of the local high school team. Hey, you guys go to Vallivue High? Yeah. Tell me about your tech experience. And they told me, and everything, the pulse was completely different than whenever I'd asked those same questions before. So it's working. People are a lot more diligent and deliberate about how much screen time and the quality of screen time that they're doing in the classrooms. So I'm hoping that continues to be the trend.
Joey, this is a really, my kids don't go to Vallivue School District, but I want the best for those kids. I want the best for all kids.
Yeah.
And I've been so worried about the tech. And there have been real problems with tech, right? Like there's no denying that there are real distraction problems, there are real safety problems. And to hear the steps you guys have gone through and the evolving protocol and way you're managing it, and then the feedback, man, that's wonderful to hear.
I appreciate that. Would you mind allowing me to take you through? How much time do we have? Do we have enough time?
Yeah. What
Okay.
do you want to take me through?
Just a little bit of Joey's.
We're going on a journey.
Joey's journey through education, trying to honor technology and do as best he can to integrate it and do right by the kids and making sure they're ready for their future.
Bro, take me on your journey.
Okay. It first started out whenever the smartphones came out and everyone was saying, every kid's going to have smartphones. This is the future. You need to accept it and get with the times, kind of a thing. So I'm like, yeah, I want to be on the vanguard of this and do right by the kids. And so it was a big deal to say BYOD, bring your own device. So that way in the classroom, you can use it as clickers or whatnot. So I had that classroom policy myself and it didn't work. Surprise, surprise. Years later, now we're doing cell phone bans on campuses. So that was a bust.
But the cell phones from that time were also different.
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe they were smart devices, but the marketplace and
Snapchat wasn't around yet.
Yeah, what app developers know about, they didn't have Flappy Birds back then, which is like an insane proposition where it's like people will starve to death playing Flappy Birds.
Right.
Like, we know more. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But at that time I was like, but not everyone has the latest, greatest model of a cell phone yet. It was still exuberant in price and people didn't prioritize a smartphone at all times then. So then I wrote a grant and I got a class set of iPod touches and a beautiful little charger that you could put all the iPods in there. And I loaded up with audiobooks. I loaded up with Kindle books, grammar apps. And I'm like, heck yeah, Joey, pat myself on the back. Yes. These kids are going to be phenomenal readers. And they're going to know their grammar inside and out. I actually found out doing a little controlled experiment in my own set of classes that the kids that weren't using the iPod touches were better engaged, more collaboration, just doing face-to-face and paper and pencil tasks on that kind of stuff, and more engaged with the paper, haptic senses, everything of paper. So then I was like, oh, that's kind of a bust. But at the time, everyone was like, good job, Joey. You're amazing. But then upon reflection, I'm like, no, that I didn't do right by kids on that. And then after that, there was a grant that, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Albertsons Foundation put out millions of dollars. And they said, we'll get 50 schools, close to 50 schools to do this grant if you write in and you partner with Khan Academy. And Saul Khan was like an educational celebrity at the time. And he
also the most boring content ever.
You know what? Boring content, but I like the sound of his voice.
Dude, he literally was like the boiled chicken and steamed broccoli. It's like, if you want to lose weight, boiled chicken and steamed broccoli, you'll lose weight. Oh, but it's so painful.
It is.
That you want to stab your eyeballs out.
True.
Yeah, but very popular.
But if you can hang with him with that kind of diet, you're going to have the 6-pack of education.
Yeah, oh my God. That's true. I should eat more broccoli.
But that takes extreme discipline, right?
Yeah,
you got to be like an uber autodidact.
Yeah, right.
But anyways, the whole idea was like, bring Khan Academy in. Right. They flew him in as a keynote speaker. We got, so I was fortunate that they accepted the grant that I sent in, was able to get Chromebooks for all the math classes at the school I was at. And I was like, hey, I'm an English teacher, but I'm excited to see what's going to happen in these math classrooms with that. It did not pan out the way it was. I mean, everyone was like, nothing's going to stop us now. We're going to change education. Everyone's excited. And then guess what happens? The results that we're hoping that it would yield as far as math learning goes didn't live up to the hype. There was no actual formalized study on how all those millions of dollars went with Khan Academy's partnered in that pilot in Idaho. Oh, no. It just kind of floats away. I'm just kind of so we lose all the steam and the hype and it goes away. And where's the reflection? Where's the data? It just goes away. So then the next thing is I'm still a sucker for tech. Got to go all tech. Got to, whatever a tech juggernaut says, be like, yeah, you're the future. I'm following you. I feel embarrassed to say that now. And so I wrote another grant. And this one was for Sherry Ibarra when she was the state superintendent at the time, and she was championing mastery education. It's called the Idaho Mastery Education Network. I was pumped. They accepted that grant as well. Great. And that time I didn't get to actually be in the trench in the classroom and see that and be part of that grant being implemented because I went to the district office at that time. But I got to see from the district office how the leadership team at that school did it. And they decided to partner with Mark Zuckerberg, who before everyone was like, right. Mark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that time, they were like, Mark, you're going to be the white knight of education. You pumped $100 million of your own funds to save education. Yes, exactly. Incredible. Yeah, the angelic choir was singing.
Yeah,
and he was
glowing. He's levitating.
Right, yeah. And so his platform was called Summit, and it's going to be personalized. It's going to be adaptive. Kids need to spend this X amount of hours per week on it, and you're going to see amazing results. We did not see those amazing results. Again, all of a sudden, that kind of just fades away and goes away. Around that same time, Wilder School District landed a grant to get every single kid in the district an iPad. And I was watching them like a hawk. Oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. Every kid, this was so innovative and on the edge for technology and education. It did not yield the results whatsoever. It did not bear out on the assessments that this was a game changer in education. And I was especially paying attention because Tim Cook, the CEO for Apple, right next to Ivanka Trump did you know about this trip? Yeah, in 2018, Ivanka Trump and Tim Cook visited the Wilder School District. CBS Morning or Good Morning America or whatever did a whole amazing story on it saying, look at how great this school district is and how amazing. Thank God for these tech giants coming in and fixing all of it. It did not happen. Now we have a new superintendent in Wilder School District, a good friend, Dr. Alex Zamora. He's actually going back to more traditional practices, getting actual proven curriculum. And now they're seeing significant gains in their reading scores.
You got to give me this guy's number. I got to contact with this. Okay, so that was two. So this is 4 notable instances in your personal experience and then broader Idaho.
Yeah.
Where you just...
it gets even worse, honestly, in my opinion. We just adopted a math curriculum about 2.5 years ago. And part of that curriculum, they said, if you use this web-based intervention curriculum and you use it faithfully 3 days a week, 20 minutes per session, so at least an hour, by the end of the school year, you're going to see at least 1 to 1.4, maybe even 1.6 years worth of learning gains in your students. I was part of the admin team saying, we have to make sure that we implement this faithfully, push through the implementation dip. This is going to yield the gains that we want to see. They sold it as personalized, adaptive, just like we always hear on everything the other tech gods say all the time. It was so bad that teachers who have their own children on the platform, even my own son and daughter were on it, they were like, this is a painful experience. We're actually wasting time. We're not coming even close to the learning gains that we're hoping to see. We had conversations multiple times with the curriculum company saying like, we're doing what you said. We're not seeing what you guys are talking about. So then we got to the point to where we went, you know what, math teachers, don't use that intervention platform at all. We gave it a fair shake. We need to try something else. So it's kind of like, have you ever heard of the Gartner hype cycle?
No.
It's basically saying like anytime there's new tech that comes on the scene, it can follow a predictable projection or trajectory.
Sure.
On the visibility Y scale, it's not very well known, but then everyone sees it and everyone's going, oh my gosh, this is going to be a game changer. And that's like the peak of inflated expectations. We're experiencing it right now with AI and all the things that they're promising that it's going to do in education. And then after a while, it inevitably goes through this dip into the trough of disillusionment. And then it gets a slow grade upwards to the slope of enlightenment. Oh, this is how we can actually leverage it. And then it hits the plateau of productivity. And then it's not really interesting anymore, but it's working and it's better. And I think we have to protect ourselves right now with this new cycle that we're going through with hype cycle with technology. And it's all about AI. And again, going back to everyone has a different opinion on this stuff. Some school districts that I'm familiar with in Idaho, they're like, yeah, we're going all in with AI. If we don't, we're not doing right by our kids. It becomes an equity issue. And other school districts are going like, I'm going to watch this with an eye of suspicion and see how it actually plays out. So,
Joey, man, I am so glad you told me that. Not because, again, I'm not anti-tech. I have been asking people faithfully, hey, do you have quantitative values that support this tech integration? Years I've been asking. People that you and I both know, people that you work with, I've been asking these things. And most people, everyone has failed to say like, yes, I have these quantifiable values that show that this is a positive thing. Most people fall back to, well, tech is the future. Or like, well, we need our kids are digital natives. Well, we don't want the 18-year-old learning how to type at 18. Well, boom, boom, boom. Well, we could do these hypothetical things. No one has shown efficacy with this. And that's not to say that we shouldn't have tech, but what it is to say is, look, it is, as you're saying, it's always sold as this incredible thing.
Right. It's always being sold, as far as I can tell, as I should say what's prominent in their sales pitch is look how engaging it is, which I can't stand hearing that. When I hear because when they say it's engaging, what I automatically usually see or assume, and then it's proven true, is that they're let's say they're
tapping into
the reward center. Yes. Tapping into the reward center of our children's brain, and it's turning them to this dopamine loop that they don't necessarily need. They're using...
Like I was like the last bit of time when my second and fifth grader were still going to the school that had them with tech, every single day we would get into like these huge arguments at home over them not getting, like, no, you can't have but it's school. It's like, no, it's not. I know you're doing, you get into these huge things. They get it. Again, it's cliche, but it's like there was some level of dependence and frustration when they didn't have.
Kids already come to us tech dependent. So part of our responsibility is to make sure that they are familiar with tech, but also not tech dependent. I think it's okay to not TikTokify education. I think it's okay to make sure there's not always edutainment. If they're always coming in with the expectation that they have to have some kind of modicum or some level of edutainment, education, entertainment. Then when it comes time to the real world workforce, how are they going to know to say, this is work, I don't need my work to be work attainment or whatever.
Sure.
I need to get down to business. Another thing too is talking about tapping into the reward center while they're trying to learn. It's the same thing with Duolingo. My daughter, for example.
Duolingo, I'm not familiar.
Oh, it's a language learning app.
Okay.
But basically they say, keep coming back into our app. You don't want to lose your streak. You want to earn these badges. All things.
The streak. Yeah. That's the Snapchat.
Basically, they're using the casino tricks to keep our dopamine levels going and going back. And it de-emphasizes the actual learning. So my daughter wants to learn another language. And I found whenever I learned another language, what was better than Duolingo was saying, so for example, a kiddo knocked on my door. Hey, can I rake your leaves for some money? No, I like raking my own leaves because I get good exercise from it. But do you speak Spanish? I do. I'll pay you to speak Spanish to me and help me learn Spanish. And that's like real world, face to face. Way better than Duolingo. Or LDS missionaries knocked on my door. Can I share the gospel with you? How are you today?
No, but do you know Spanish?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And so my uncle and I, we would learn about the faith or the beliefs from, their faith tradition all in Spanish. And it was way more engaging, much better for the brain. It's, these apps would dream of being able to do what humans can do and the interactions I just described. So it's the same thing, I think, with education in the classroom. But there is time where technology, I'm being mostly negative about technology.
I don't think
there are great things about technology too, though.
The sales pitch of, hey, tech does cool stuff, that was sold 70 years ago.
Right.
That was sold in the Industrial Revolution, man. Mm-hmm. We don't, the burden of proof is not on, can tech theoretically offer something beneficial to humanity? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, okay, great. The question is, should we have the level of tech integration in our public schools that we have right now? Are the ed tech companies actually producing results when schools integrate this technology? And what are they getting out of it? And what does it cost us, not just financially, but cost us with our children?
Oh, this is a perfect segue to this next thing. There was a report done by the OECD. I think it's called the Organization for the Economic Collaboration and Development report.
Sure. Okay.
38 Democratic countries, countries, they buy into this research outlet. Basically, they did this study that said that there's no appreciable improvements in academics for math, reading, and science for the countries who have invested most heavily into education technology. And then it went on to say that, in fact, the countries who used most technology in time actually had lower learning gains than the other countries who didn't use technology as much. So that's kind of like, all right, we got to pause and reflect on that. That means a lot. And then
it's like, look, if the goal is to educate, we're not saying tech can't exist, but if the mission is to educate, and you are being told loud and clear from data, both anecdotal and large scale, like meta studies, it's like, okay, what this means is if our goal is to educate, this is not helping us do that better. And there's a very clear evidence that it's detrimental to youth development. Okay, great. We have no position on tech. We only have a position on education. We also don't use, I don't know, you guys probably don't engage in a lot of like horse and buggy, building training because that's not your charter, right? Like horse and buggies can exist, right? Like the things can exist. Your position is, hey, how do we educate? That's the number one thing that we need to, that's the only thing we need to do. That's what the taxpayers pay us to do. It's what the children and the parents expect us to do. Yeah. And if this is not improving education, then I don't have a position on it other than it has nothing to do with me.
Exactly. How do we maximize that? Another great study of meta-analysis, like you said, was UNESCO in 2023. Their study said, actually, technology shows small to moderate gains in learning. But they said, however, we have to take that for a grain of salt. I'm paraphrasing the study. I would encourage anyone to look it up. They said, we have to take it for a grain of salt because we don't know how to isolate that variable of technology on these learning outcomes. It could be PD. It could be extended learning time. We don't know. They also acknowledge that the tech companies who are putting out curriculum and software platforms, they have an undue amount of influence on selling these with studies that are funded by themselves to drown out independent studies that are showing that there's actually no gains beyond traditional learning teaching methods.
Right.
So
there's trillions of dollars. And when
to be made. Yeah.
when you consider ed tech as saying like, look, man, all we need to do is make this program once. And then we need to tap in to the trillions of public dollars that are flowing in this pipeline. If we can just get every single school district to buy this one program, we will make $10 billion.
Right.
It cost us $10 million to make. That's like 1,000x, right? Like we just need everyone to buy this. And by the way, we don't even have to show up. We just need to get people to participate. And then if it doesn't work, it's okay. We made $10 billion and we're on to the next thing. We're on to the next. And this next one, I promise you this next one is going to work. That's
the cycle over and over. And we fall for it. And you know, my little history that I shared with you, that was me falling for it over and over and over. But gosh, there's actually really cool things you can do with technology. Like I encourage everybody to re-listen to or listen to the first time your episode with Dr. Melissa Farrow.
Yeah.
She perfectly articulates when it's appropriate to use technology to augment students' learning. Listen, it's a phenomenal episode.
100%. Look, let's do this. Come back with use cases of valuable technology integration. Be that we're covering a thing in science, we can FaceTime a science guy who's doing this research for 15 minutes. He'll give us 15 minutes of his time. You would never have contact with him like something of that nature. Let's come back. Because again, it's not bad. Like people communicate with video, right? That's largely how people understand the world at this point. Short form video content, right? And I understand that making the best short form video content is really important. I would love to do a class with people to help them understand how to make it and also what the aspects are that make it attractive and make them want to watch it more. The different layers of content, the different emotional prescription through, music, the different moving multimedia layers, right? So it's like you have the person talking, you have the music in the background, you have the additional video that pops on, you have the captions that are moving, all of these things, because if people know how to make it, they also know what's happening when they watch it. And they're like, I'm good. But to teach them to make it, you require tech. Like neither one of us is anti-tech. We're anti-tech takeover, right?
Exactly. Anti-tech take. Oh, that's a good phrase. That's a good one. I love that.
Listen, Joey, I hate to cut us short. I'm so enjoying this. Please come back. Let's keep having the tech conversation. Let's find ways that people understand that this is really valuable, but it's not valuable for everything. That'd be great.
Appreciate your time. That was fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.